Right, we've just got back from the Morocco trip, and I just wanted to share a few things with anybody that's interested while it's still fresh in my mind. We arrived back on Friday, today's Sunday morning, and I've just written down a few little headings to prompt me as we go along. So let's have a look. Bike prep. I think it's something that we get extremely excited about, and we might spend weeks, if not months, and a lot of money getting our bikes ready for what is a fairly straightforward run, really. When you consider that the locals ride Docker 125s through the desert, it makes preparing your GS with a plethora of add-ons from Touratech look a bit, well, not daft, but maybe a little bit over the top. So you can do Morocco on literally any bike, anything. CBR 600, we saw one of those out there. Obviously, an adventure bike is ideal, but you can do Morocco on roads, and the roads are getting better and better. So you really don't need to do massive prep unless you're going in the desert and you really mean business, and that's a different ball game altogether. Ferry, we did the Santander route, Plymouth Santander. With Brittany Ferries, the Plymouth route is kind of the better one because the Pont d'Avan runs that route, and it's the quickest ferry as far as I'm aware. 22 hours. You leave sort of mid-afternoon and arrive there first thing in the morning, so you get a good start in Spain. So that was our chosen route from the UK to Spain. Crossing Spain, we took 2 days on the way down because we were rushing down for the MotoGP at Jerez. So I'd say 3 days to cross Spain is comfortable, and then you can do a bit of A road rather than just hammering the motorway. The motorway is brilliant. It's extremely quick and quiet, but the A roads are nicer, and you can take in a bit of Spain, which is a joy in itself. So on the way down, we did hammer the motorway on the first day, and then did A roads down to Jerez on the second day. Now then, insurance. We used to be able to get a green card from our insurance company. I seem to remember 10 years ago when I went, I just phoned up Carol Nash and got a green card, so an additional insurance premium. It wasn't much, 25 quid or something, and that allowed me to ride in Morocco. That's no longer possible for whatever reasons. So you can buy insurance, and that's the little insurance certificate that you get at Tangier Med. I would imagine any of the other ports probably the same, but I wouldn't know. But at Tangier Med, when you've gone through all the various stages of getting through the customs and the police and all that, and passport checks, there's a row of kiosks, and the last kiosk is an insurance kiosk. I think it cost us about 100 quid, 1,000 dirhams, I think, and you get your 1 month insurance. That's the minimum you can buy. So we only needed 2 weeks, but you have to buy a month of insurance. So that's that. You also get these. You need. I think I'm pretty sure I took my registration document V5. I'm pretty sure I needed it for the import and export little card. You get this little tiny bit of paper with a QR code on it, and that's for the 2 bikes. And you need that when you leave because they want to see that, and then they scribble on it to show that you've taken your bike back out the country. So it's I suppose, like a temporary import document. Easily lost, put them safe somewhere on board. So that's your documents. I don't think we really need anything else apart from your passport, of course. Petrol now. People stress about petrol in Morocco. There are zillions of petrol stations. Almost everywhere you'll find petrol. It's only on the really, really quiet, outlandish, sort of up in the mountains roads where you'll go 100 miles possibly. I think we did one day, don't think it was even 100 miles, without seeing a petrol station. There are plenty. Even now at Mazuga, there's a couple of petrol stations, and they weren't there, I'm pretty sure, 10 years ago. There's like 2 or 3 there. But if you're doing the Mazuga to Zagora run, I think it's 150 miles. So even with that, this tank was enough. I did take spare, and I even had a 5 litre can in the side as well with petrol in. Didn't need it. To be honest with you, that was enough. 19 litres in there, and that'll do about 140, 150 miles. And that got me across Mazuga to Zagora. off-road, piste all the way. I ended up giving that to a guy that did a bit of guiding for us, and he refilled his Docker 125 with my 3 litres on the back. So petrol's not an issue. Roads, right. So you've got everything from a motorway, which is a bit like driving through France. It's got the same sort of scenery almost in the north. It's very smooth. You have people selling melons at the start at the side of the motorway, which is a bit weird. You do have people crossing the motorway. You do have the odd dog walking along the motorway. And in a lot of places, you'll see there's not much between the motorway and people's houses, just a low concrete barrier. And you do wonder how safe it is, but it's pretty good. There are tolls along it. It's not very expensive. So you've got the motorway. The rest of the roads, from my 10 years ago, they've been upgraded a lot. When I look at the guidebook that I've got written by Chris Scott, a lot of the places, there was one route that we did in the centre from Nicob back to the Dades Gorge. You know, we were expecting that to be a full piste, gravel track up over the mountains. It's now a Swiss-style smooth tarmac road, and it's a fabulous ride, but it's no longer a piste. There are other roads. We did one sort of skirting the edge of the rift down a Fez, and it was a horror story because it was tarmac, it was a tarmac road, but so decayed and potholed and the sides broken, and areas where they were digging it up to resurface it, that it was like worse than a piste. It was much worse. It was an awful ride from the road surface point of view. Although the scenery is pretty good, and it was interesting to get it, very much off the beaten track and see the villages high up in the hills, and it was that was an education in itself. So the roads are everything from pistes to riverbeds to sand to motorways. You get it all. Depends on the route that you choose. If you're looking for off-road, there's still a ton of it, but it is being reduced fairly rapidly, it seems, with road upgrades. So petrol, documents. Yeah, the pistes, I think it's getting to the point now where the best piste riding and off-road riding is right down to the south. We wanted to get into the anti-atlas, and in the end, because of time and various other factors, we didn't get into the anti-atlas. I'll come on to that in a bit. Desert riding, right? We took these. My bike is relatively light, but compared to a 1200 Jez, but still fairly heavy. With the panniers on and all the tools and all the rest of it, and spare inner tubes, it was fairly weighty, plus the petrol. And riding through sand is not easy. We've done a fair bit of off-roading in Wales, stone and mud and all the rest of it, but sand is something else. The handlebars flap like crazy. You have to just gun it like crazy, and if it digs in, it will make a hole, and the back wheel will disappear that deep, and it takes some pulling them out. When it's hot, as it was for us, 40 degrees, I can tell you what, you get tired very quickly picking up that one, and even excuse me, and even more quickly picking up a fully loaded KTM 1190. It is very, very hard work. So it's a lot of fun. It's very tough in hot weather, and it's something you definitely want to do. We had a chap guide us in the end. Got intercepted, and it was good. And a guy called Bam. And to be honest with you, I'm glad he intercepted us and found us. And he was telling us stories about another route, and he took us away from this main route where there's a lot of sand. There's a big sort of a 10-15 mile stretch of deep sand that you have to get through, and many stories of guys on all sorts of big European bikes getting them in, well into this area, and then burning out the clutch, trying to get them out of that area, and ended up having to have them towed out or collected by the local guys, and it costs a lot of money, and then getting them repaired, probably in Zagora. So be warned, if you take your big adventure bike, be prepared to do a fair amount of picking up and dragging them out. It's quite tough. Camping, right? We carried camping gear. To be honest, I wouldn't bother. We took camping gear mainly to camp near Jerez because the accommodation was so expensive for the GP, and we did camp just down the road at Arcos de la Frontera, which is a really stunning little town just down the road from Jerez. From Morocco, I wouldn't bother with camping gear unless you really want to camp out. There's loads of accommodation, B&B, various standards, of course, depending where you are and how much you want to pay. But you get well fed. Quite often you get what do you call that stuff? Air conditioning, so you can stay cool. Camping, we did camp one night. We camped in the Atlas where it was a bit cooler, a place where I'd stayed years ago. So for old time's sake, really. Again, we didn't need to camp. They did have rooms, but we chose to camp just to use the gear and have some reason for taking it. So I wouldn't bother again. Less bulk, less weight, more space to put some souvenirs. So I wouldn't bother camping. B&B is excellent. Food, right? Now the food is, people do worry about how you're going to get fed out there or feed yourself. To be honest with you, there's nothing to worry about. This, you get food everywhere. The very first night, we stayed in a fabulous B&B not far from Chef Chouan in the hills, and the food cooked there. I mean, it was a tagine, the usual tagine, but with meatballs, fantastic. I mean, the food is really, really good. Word of caution, though, we did eventually get ill, and we put it down to possibly salads. Possibly the water, who knows, scrubbing tea, I don't know what it was, but we both ended up with the Rocco runs, as I've called it, and it took us best part of 6 days to shake it. It was quite unpleasant, if I'm honest. So I would stick with, and this is advice from people out there, stick with hot food, stick with the tagine. One of the things they like to do with the tagine is when they bring it to you, they lift the lid and it's literally bubbling hot. I mean, it's bubbling, so that everything in that tagine is well hot and well cooked. Traditionally, they give you what they call a Moroccan salad as a starter or soup, then a tagine of various types, some kind of meat and vegetables, couscous and whatever, and it's always really, really good. And then fruit for afters, melon and apple are chopped up, sometimes pomegranate, and all local sort of stuff. We think the salad is the possible danger area if it's been washed in the local water, possibly cross-contaminated. We think it's possibly the salad. So if I went again, I would avoid eating salads, although they are really tasty and very appetising to look at. Probably best to leave them. So go for tagines, go for bottled water. Only drink, water drinks from out of a bottle. Fizzy drinks. The fizzy drinks are good. We got into the Hawaii, which is their version of sort of an orange drink like Tango, and that was all good. So avoid any water, scrubbing your teeth, even use bottled water. If you get ill, it ruins a little bit, the trip. It didn't ruin it for us, but I had a day. I just had to have a day off the bike. I couldn't ride. I just felt too grim, and you lose a day. You just lose time. So it kind of upset our plans slightly, getting ill. Right, big cities and hassle. Yeah, you get hassled. You go to fairs. If you don't know where you're going, I'm quite glad we had this experience because I've been told about this a lot. You arrive at fairs, you arrive at the Medina area, which is the main tourist attraction, the old town and all that, the big walls. And when you arrive on motorbikes, you literally have guys on scooters chasing you down, riding alongside you, asking you if you've got a reservation, telling you to come with them, telling you to park here, trying to take charge, and it's pretty annoying. We did have a reservation. We arrived very late because we'd had a long day, so we arrived just before dusk, and it wasn't an ideal time to arrive. I couldn't find our accommodation in the Medina because it is a maze, and it was impossible to find, although I had my iPad and I could see the dot on the map, and I couldn't find the entrance. We were hopeless. So we had these guys hassling us to go with them, but in the end we managed to sack them off. And I remembered a good place. This was a really easy place to arrive. I'd read about this place. It's called the Blue Sky Hotel. And if you come in, if you look where it is, you drive in a fairly easy run into Fez, and then this Blue Sky Hotel is on a nice little quiet back road, just outside the Medina, and it's got access to underground parking. And arriving there was an absolute doddle. We just drove around to it, parked up outside. The people were super friendly. We offloaded our luggage, checked in. The guy took our bike straight to the underground parking. Done. And then we had an easy day in Fez, wandering around the Medina. And then when we left, it was just a reverse, pull the bikes out, reload them, and off we went. So at the Blue Sky Hotel, and I'm sure there are others with a similar sort of ease of arrival, is the way to arrive in Fez on bikes. If you don't know what you're doing when you arrive in Fez, you will be hassled by many men, and they are quite irritating, if I'm honest. So that's the big cities. I heard we had stories about arriving in Marrakesh. We met some guys from Slovenia that were driving a rental car. They had a similar experience. They arrived in Marrakesh. They got headed off. They got some guy on a scooter to follow him, with all the usual promises of, I'll find you a nice room and somewhere to park. And in the end, it turned out he was quite unsavoury and quite nasty, asking them for money for not very much in return. I think he even threatened to phone his friends if they didn't cough up. So you do have to be a bit careful in the big cities where there's a lot of tourism, and the touts will chase you down. In Fez and in the Medina, you're constantly getting picked up by men, and I don't mean it like that, because they want to become your guide. You've got this guide, and they'll walk around with you, and before you know it, they're looking for a bit of the old backsheesh. It's all good. It's how they operate. It's how they make a living. But it does start to get on your nerves a little bit. So just be warned of the big cities. You even get it out in the countryside. We had a situation where we arrived at a ruined Casbah up on a hill. Had to go up a gravel track to get to it. Not a soul around. Parked the bikes, got off, started walking around. Within minutes, a chap turned up on a scooter, claimed that it was his family heritage and all this sort of stuff and whatever. And of course, he wanted some money. We soon left and let him know what we thought of that. The people in Morocco, mostly fantastic. Friendly. You don't usually get any bother, but the big cities you will get that degree of hassle for paying for services, selling your stuff. Again, it's just how it is. But once you're out in the sticks and you pull up a cafe and stuff like that, it's just like anywhere else. You just pull in, wander in, get a drink, sit down, and you're left alone. The children will run out everywhere you stop. Sometimes you'll stop on a road and you'll see a couple of houses just down a bank or something, and the kids will run out to greet you. Of course, they want sweets. Always carry some sweets. They often ask for a stilo or a pen. I don't know why they're so keen on a pen. You would have thought they've got pens out there, but that seems to be a thing they ask for. But I just carry a few lollipops and those out, and that seems to make them happy. Some of the kids will want to trade with you. They'll make little things like little mementos, and that's really actually very nice. So be prepared to be mobbed by the kids. They have started, and I don't remember this from my previous 10-year ago trip. They have started this business, putting their hand out for a hand touch, which again is kind of cute. But you can have like a line of 3 or 4 kids, and they're only little, and you're passing on a big old bike on gravel, loaded down, and you're putting your hand out to tap, tap, tap. And it's kind of nice. Some of them sort of almost grab at your hand, and we thought it was getting it in places a bit dodgy. They kind of grab at your hand, and we're not sure if they're trying to pull you off or they're trying to stop you, to get something, to get you to stop to get something off you. So although it's kind of cute, I wouldn't want to, I did do it, but I wouldn't want to be responsible for a kid stepping out too far and getting whacked by me engine bars. So it's one of those, do it by all means, but be careful. Is it worth going to Morocco on your adventure bike from the UK? This is the big questions people ask me. They sort of say, is it worth it? It's an awful long way compared to going anywhere else in Europe. Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, where else can you go just outside mainland Europe that's a 1.5 hour ferry journey from Spain, where everything, literally everything, is massively different from the rest of Europe. And Morocco is, as far as I can think, the only place. Maybe get all the way down to Turkey, of course, but it's probably further. Everything is different. The culture is different. The language is, it's a bit of a mix between, I think Berber is its own language, Arabic is spoken, French, of course. You can get by with French perfectly well, but some people don't speak much French. It turns out. It's a Muslim country, so everywhere there's mosques, and it's a completely different. Everybody dresses different to us. The food is very, very different. The shops, are not a shop like we know them a lot of the time. It's just a little stall, and you have to ask for what you want. The roads are very, very different. The driving is generally all right. Weirdly, we found the motorway driving the worst. It's a 2-lane motorway with a dotted line, and the dotted line doesn't seem to count for much. They'll just waver around, they'll drive down the middle, they'll only get across when they have to. They'll drive right up your rear end if they want you to get out of the way. Motorway driving was particularly bad. Driving on the roads generally wasn't bad. A lot of the time it's kind of almost a 1.5 lane road, the tarmac. The edge very, very broken because they kind of don't concrete the edges in, so everything drops off the edge and the edges get smashed to bits. So you've got this kind of 1.5 lane with very, very ragged edges straight onto gravel, sometimes with a bit of a step, and then all the potholes that everybody's trying to avoid. So on some of the roads it can be quite a test when there's a truck or a lorry coming the other way and everybody's trying to shimmy round. But generally the driving, wasn't too bad. We did see one accident. Jamie was in front of me. We were going round a fairly decent road, actually. It was near Ouarzazate. And a chap right in front of Jamie on his moped with all his shopping ran straight into the back of another car. Unfortunately, headbutted the back window, smashed it, and everything went everywhere. So we stopped and we did a bit of first aid for him. He was all right, obviously very concussed and needed a night in hospital. So it is quite tasty. Hazards, dogs everywhere. They generally just sit at the side of the road. They don't usually walk out in front of you, but they sometimes do. Animals everywhere, but they're generally out of the way. They tend to keep off the road. Some of the vehicles on the road look like they could clap out at any minute. Lots of people on mopeds, all the usual kind of hazards, but slightly different to what we're used to from that point of view. So the roads are fine. Just have the radar on red alert. I think that's about it, really. I think if you want an adventure and you've got an adventure bike, or any bike for that matter, Morocco is a fantastic place. Now, we went out with the intention of doing as much off-road as we could, and in the end we didn't do as much as we wanted, and I'll show you on the map what we were aiming for and how things kind of went slightly wrong for us. So we started off obviously in the north. We came down through this area, down through Fez. That was just all roads here, so no off-road here really. We ended up going through Azrou, and then we were heading for Midelt because we wanted to do the Cirque de Jaffa. The Cirque de Jaffa being one of the main, so there's Midelt, and the Cirque de Jaffa is this route here to Imachil. Now, it wasn't closed as such, although I've written closed. Where the Cirque is, I think there was some kind of a collapse, and the road was almost impassable. Apparently, you could do it on small trial bikes or walk or cycle, but on big loaded adventure bikes, we were told it was too difficult. So in the end, we did the gorge of Jaffa, which goes this way, and then we came out on another trail and then joined these roads and had to go right round and then back to Imachil that way. This road is brilliant. This was a really good one. So Imachil in the mountains, and this was a fabulous road down to the Dades Gorge. Apparently, we wanted to do this one, but ran out of time because I got ill. There's a fantastic road from Imachil, and it goes down through this way and joins up with this area here, and it's called the Cathedral because there's a rock here which apparently looks like a cathedral. So we'll try and come back and do that one another day. We were going to do it on the way back, but we ran out of time. So that was brilliant. Now this road here was going to be an off-road day. So from Dades all the way through here, over the Tizzy and Tazazert to Nicob. But that is now tarmacked, so that's now a lovely road, but it's tarmacked. And then we did the Desert Highway on a very, very hot day to Mazuga. There is off-road trails through here, which I think I'll probably still... We did do a loop, actually. We did a loop of off-road there that was interesting, but it was only relatively short. The big one for us was the Desert Run. Now, that's the known run there, all the way through to Tagonite down the bottom. But we got headed off by this chap who told us that in this area, was it, I think, Remelia, he said there's a lot of sand there and big bikes get stuck a lot. And he put us off it, and he took us on a route, and we went kind of through here. We ended up at a place called Sidi Alley, and then we pushed our way out all the way to Umjaran, which is a village, and then another off-road section there, and then we got the tarmac road to Zagora. So that was a 150-mile day, and it took us from 6 in the morning till about 9 at night. And this section here in 40-degree heat, I can tell you what, that was a tough day, but brilliant. We had a day off there to recover because we were both pretty knackered at Zagora. We had planned to go Mohammed and then another off-road route, but again we were told that this area is very, very sandy and very, very tough on big bikes. So on balance, you know, we thought we weren't sure, so we thought we'd sack it out off and come back and do it another day. This is the area we kind of were hoping to work towards, west of Ouarzazate, but in the end, because I got ill near Ouarzazate, we were in a B&B at Fint out here, and we lost a day. We had to knock that on the head, and we headed instead Marrakesh and back, and we thought we'd come back and do this another time. If we come back, we're going to fly. We're not going to ride the whole thing again. It's a very, very long way, and I reckon the best in Morocco is the Anti-Atlas and the High Atlas here and out to Mazuga. So basically anything south of Marrakesh, I think this is the area to aim for. So if you are doing the full run from Britain, bank on, you know, getting on for a week to get down here, getting on for a week to get back, certainly 5 days, 6 days, and then you want at least a week to 8 days or so, 9 days in this area. If we do it again, we're going to fly into Marrakesh, we're going to hire bikes, we're going to go straight out on the Tizzy and test, and then we're going to go all the way down to Tafrawat in this area through Tartar, and then we're going to work our way back, possibly up to here and then back to Marrakesh. That kind of loop is what I would do if I was going to go again. I wouldn't ride again. I've done it twice, and I think twice is enough. So that was the Morocco trip. I've got loads of videos of the riding, which I'm going to put together in a vid, and I'll post that so that you can see what some of the riding is like. So there we are. Thanks for watching, and good luck if you have a go. Cheers.